The mystery of Homi Bhabha. Accident or assassination. The man who never reached Geneva. It is January 24th, 1966, high above the snow-covered Alps, an Air India Boeing 707 named Kanchenjunga was making its final descent toward Geneva. There were 117 people on board: businessmen, diplomats, tourists, crew members, and one passenger whose work had the potential to reshape the balance of power in Asia. Dr. Homi Jehangir Bhabha to millions of Indians. He wasn't just a scientist, he was the architect of India's nuclear future. Only 11 minutes later, the aircraft struck the western face of Mont Blanc, the highest mountain in Western Europe. The impact was devastating. There were no survivors. The official investigation reached a simple conclusion: pilot error, a misunderstanding of altitude, a tragic navigational mistake. Case closed. Or was it? Because something about the timing refused to fade from public memory. Just 13 days earlier, India's Prime Minister, Lal Bahadur Shastri, had died suddenly in Tashkent after signing a peace agreement with Pakistan. Within less than 2 weeks, India had lost its political leader and the scientist leading its atomic program. For many, that was too extraordinary to dismiss as coincidence, and that single question would grow into one of India's most enduring historical mysteries. The man who changed India. To understand why people questioned his death, you first need to understand who Homi Bhabha really was. Born in Bombay in 1909 into an influential Parsi family, Bhabha was expected to become an engineer. Instead, he fell in love with physics. He studied at Cambridge, where he worked alongside some of the greatest scientific minds of the 20th century: Paul Dirac, Wolfgang Pauli, the pioneers of quantum mechanics. His own research, particularly on electron-positron interactions, became internationally recognized. Even today, physics students across the world learn about Bhabha scattering. But Bhabha possessed something unusual. He wasn't simply interested in discovering how the universe worked. He wanted science to transform his country. When World War II prevented him from returning to England, he remained in India. What many would have considered bad luck, Bhabha transformed into an opportunity. In 1945, he founded the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. Soon after India's independence, he convinced Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru that scientific independence was just as important as political independence. India needed its own research, its own reactors, its own scientists, its own future. Nehru agreed. Bhabha became the founding chairman of India's Atomic Energy Commission. He established the Research Center at Trombay, later renamed the Bhabha Atomic Research Center. He designed India's famous three-stage nuclear program, a vision that still shapes India's nuclear energy strategy today. By the early 1960s, Homi Bhabha wasn't merely leading a research program. He was helping define India's future as a scientific power. The world of the Cold War. But history isn't shaped by science alone. It's shaped by politics. And by the mid-1960s, the world was divided. The United States, the Soviet Union, two superpowers locked in the Cold War. Every alliance mattered. Every technological breakthrough mattered. Every new nuclear program mattered. India refused to formally join either bloc. Instead, it pursued a policy of strategic independence. At the same time, India increasingly purchased military equipment from the Soviet Union, while the United States developed close security ties with Pakistan through alliances such as SEATO and CENTO. Then came another turning point. In October 1964, China successfully detonated its first nuclear weapon. For India, the regional security environment changed overnight. Only months later, Homi Bhabha made a statement that attracted worldwide attention. Speaking publicly, he argued that if the Indian government made the political decision, India already possessed the scientific capability to build a nuclear weapon within roughly 18 months. Those words traveled far beyond India's borders. To supporters, they reflected confidence. To others, they suggested that another nation might soon join the world's exclusive nuclear club. Whether governments saw this as a strategic concern is a matter historians continue to debate. But there is little doubt that India's nuclear ambitions were being closely watched. The crash that started a mystery Flight 101, January 24, 1966. Air India Flight 101 continued its journey toward Geneva. Dr. Homi Bhabha was traveling to Vienna to attend a meeting of the International Atomic Energy Agency. The aircraft was a Boeing 707, one of the most advanced commercial airliners of its time. Its captain was highly experienced. The weather over the Alps was far from ideal. Clouds, snow, poor visibility. As the aircraft approached Geneva, the pilots established radio contact with air traffic control. The official investigation later concluded that a misunderstanding occurred regarding the aircraft's position relative to Mont Blanc. The crew believed they had already passed the mountain. They hadn't. At nearly 15,000 feet, the Boeing flew directly into the western face of Mont Blanc at cruising speed. The impact was catastrophic. The aircraft disintegrated across the glacier. Everyone on board was killed instantly. For investigators, the explanation appeared straightforward: controlled flight into terrain, a tragic navigational accident. Unfortunately, aviation history contains many similar examples, and yet, this crash would never be remembered as just another accident. The questions begin within hours. India was in shock. Its leading nuclear scientist was gone. For most people, the official explanation seemed reasonable, but others began asking difficult questions, not because the investigation lacked detail, but because of the extraordinary timing. Only 13 days earlier, Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri had died unexpectedly in Tashkent. Now, the scientist leading India's atomic program was also dead. Two extraordinary losses within less than 2 weeks. Could history really produce such a remarkable coincidence? Or was there something the world didn't know? These questions spread quietly at first, then they grew louder. The Cold War shadow. To understand why suspicion emerged, you have to remember what the Cold War really looked like. This was an era when intelligence agencies across multiple countries conducted covert operations, supported proxy conflicts, recruited spies, and sought technological advantages. Governments often viewed scientific breakthroughs not merely as discoveries, but as strategic assets. India's growing nuclear program was attracting international attention. Supporters of the assassination theory argue that several major powers had strategic reasons to monitor, or even slow, India's nuclear ambitions. Those arguments point to the tense geopolitical climate of the time, the close relationship between the United States and Pakistan, the rivalry between the superpowers, and growing concerns about nuclear proliferation. But while these factors may explain why suspicions arose, they do not, by themselves, demonstrate that sabotage occurred. How? The CIA theory emerged. Interestingly, the CIA was not publicly blamed in 1966. The allegation appeared much later. Decades after the crash, author Gregory Douglas published a book containing what he claimed were private conversations with former CIA official Robert Crowley. According to Douglas, Crowley privately admitted that the CIA had arranged for a bomb to be placed on Air India Flight 101. If true, it would have rewritten one of the most important chapters of modern Indian history. The claim spread rapidly. Books repeated it. Television documentaries discussed it. Newspapers revisited the mystery. Across the internet, the story evolved into one of India's most enduring conspiracy theories. For many people, the allegation seemed to explain everything: the timing, the Cold War, Bhabha's growing influence, India's nuclear ambitions. It all appeared to fit together. But investigators must ask a different question. Not, does the story sound convincing? Instead, what evidence supports it? Examining the evidence. When historians examined the claim, they found significant problems. The alleged confession relied almost entirely on a single source. The conversations were never independently authenticated. No verified audio recordings have been released. No second witness has confirmed Crowley's alleged statements. No declassified CIA documents support the allegation. No forensic evidence from the wreckage indicates an onboard explosion. And the official accident investigation found no physical signs of sabotage. Many researchers have also questioned Gregory Douglas's credibility because of unrelated controversy surrounding some of his published work. That does not automatically prove every claim he made was false, but it does mean historians treat those allegations with considerable caution. This is where history becomes difficult. A strategic motive is not the same thing as evidence. An unanswered question is not proof, and a compelling story is not necessarily a true one. The legacy of a mystery. What if Bhabha had lived? History is often shaped not only by what happens, but by what almost happened. Imagine for a moment that Homi Jehangir Bhabha had landed safely in Geneva. He attends the International Atomic Energy Agency conference, returns to India, continues leading the nation's atomic program. Would India's nuclear journey have unfolded differently? No one can answer that question, but many historians agree on one point. India lost one of the greatest scientific minds it had ever produced. Bhabha wasn't simply managing laboratories. He was building institutions, training scientists, designing long-term strategy. He believed India should never depend entirely on foreign technology. Science was national security. Science was sovereignty. His vision extended far beyond reactors. He imagined an India capable of standing shoulder to shoulder with the world's scientific powers. The program survived. Yet, something remarkable happened. His dream didn't die with him. Scientists who had worked alongside Bhabha continued the program. Among them were leaders such as Vikram Sarabhai, Homi Setna, Raja Ramana, and P.K. Iyengar, who carried forward different parts of India's scientific and nuclear efforts. The institutions Bhabha created continued to grow. Research continued, reactors were built, scientists were trained, and then, on May 18, 1974, India conducted its first underground nuclear test, Pokhran-1, codenamed Smiling Buddha. 8 years after Homi Bhabha's death, the nation demonstrated that it possessed the capability he had spent decades helping to build. Whether Bhabha had lived or not, his vision had already taken root. Ideas, once created, are difficult to destroy. Why the mystery refuses to die. So, if the official investigation concluded the crash was an accident, why does the mystery still survive? Because history leaves behind gaps. The Cold War was an era of documented espionage, covert operations, proxy conflicts, and secrecy involving multiple intelligence agencies around the world. Many government records from that period remain classified or incomplete, which naturally fuels speculation. Bhabha's death occurred at an extraordinary moment. India's nuclear ambitions were accelerating. China had recently tested a nuclear weapon. South Asia's strategic balance was changing. Within days, India had lost both its prime minister and its leading nuclear scientist. For many people, those events seemed too extraordinary to ignore. Questions became theories, theories became books, books became documentaries, and documentaries became part of public memory. But history demands discipline. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And after nearly 6 decades, no authenticated intelligence document, no verified witness, and no physical evidence has established that Flight 101 was deliberately destroyed. That does not answer every question, but it defines the limits of what we know. The final question, so what really happened over Mont Blanc? Was it a tragic aviation accident, exactly as investigators concluded? Or does history still hold secrets, buried beneath snow and silence? Perhaps. One day, new evidence will emerge. Perhaps it never will. Until then, Homi Jehangir Bhabha's death remains one of modern India's most debated historical mysteries. Not because we know who was responsible, but because we still don't know whether there was anything more to discover. One thing, however, is beyond debate. Homi Jehangir Bhabha changed India forever. His equations are still taught. His institutions still lead scientific research. The reactor complex at Tromboi still bears his name. His vision helped transform India from a newly independent nation into one of the world's leading nuclear powers. Mountains can destroy an aircraft, but they cannot destroy an idea. And perhaps that is Homi Bhabha's greatest legacy. If you enjoyed this investigation, subscribe to Iron Sutra. Because history isn't just about the past, it's about the questions we're still trying to answer. And sometimes, the greatest mysteries aren't the ones we've solved. They're the ones that continue to make us think.